now for part 2 of our Race in America episode, The Maven's Tale.
How do you experience that? Ooh. Ooh. I felt that heat. Coming, and let me get a swig.
Well, I mean, for me, it's kind of a weird, different situation because both Black, white, Hispanic, it's a group of us. Asian is, we're all there for one
purpose,
common cause.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's still always Black and white. I always feel like I always have to fight extra hard just to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I do the great job, but it still is a white girl will get a higher title before me.
Yeah.
But I will work at a place where everyone is there to help the wrongfully, convicted.
Black people are angry, but there is a reason why Black people are angry.
Slavery ended a long time ago.
Slavery has not ended. Slavery has not ended. Let's be honest. Slavery, we're not all in shackles, but they still put a lot of us in shackles when they arrest us. As a little girl, I experienced my father being harassed by the police. As a teenager, again, with my husband, I experienced my husband being harassed by the police. And as a mother, I watched my son be harassed by the police. And the system has been set up to put us in jail. It's been set up in such a way that Khalif Browder ended up taking his own life.
I still cannot watch that entire.
Oh no, I will. Yeah, no, I won't.
But it's so sad because here's a kid that was put into jail, and because his mother couldn't afford to bail him out of jail, he ended up spending all of that time, and he had to endure what he endured. That the stain of what was placed on him, he carried it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It weighed so much on him that he took his life.
Yeah.
And again, PTSD
is real.
That's where I was just about to go back to. I was about to go back to PTSD because he had to deal with the stain of centuries of what we go through, and then deal with Rikers. Anybody that's watching this that is not from the New York area, that doesn't know about Rikers Island,
look it up. The information is out there.
Rikers Island is nothing to be played with. And he went in there as a 17-year-old.
He was a kid. He was like 17.
And the bail wasn't a lot.
I think his bail might have been like a $1,500 bail. And it breaks my heart now. It broke my heart then, but it breaks my heart now because what's $1,500 when you think about how we spend money today? Yeah. What is $1,500? And $1,500 is still a lot of money for people to have and to come by, because we know that majority of people live paycheck to paycheck. They one paycheck away from being homeless.
Yeah.
We do understand that. We do understand that there's still a lot of disparities with pay. I work in human resources. I see it. There was a time when my mother and I, we both worked for the same company. And when I realized how much my mother made, and I was like, yo, she don't make no money. My mother makes no money. How has she been surviving?
Scrapping and surviving.
Which is something that, happened to a lot of people.
Just that whole system just needs
so, we know that Khalif Browder, there are so many Khalifs that exist. There were so many Khalifs that went through the system and got stuck in the system because they couldn't be bailed out.
And then not only that, because thinking about his mom, because I think about his mom, and not even having the village that you can pull on and be like, listen, I need your help. I got to get Khalif out of, you know what I'm saying? She didn't even have that to go to. At least if I know that I'm going through, at least I know I can ask y'all for $5 or something, you know, with your Michelle watch and your mink coats and stuff, you know, at least I know I can ask y'all for.
You do know I'm very frugal, so don't get it twisted.
Oh, I know. That leads into the next thing that I'm going to talk about. We already spoke about Barack and Michelle. So, because they say Spanish is going to be the majority within how many years, they say? By 20?
Oh my gosh, we're getting closer because we're in 2020 now.
Mm-hmm. They're going to be higher than white people.
Yeah. And that's why they're trying so hard to keep the race pure. But how could you keep a race pure if you were the original ones raping women and having babies with the indigenous people?
Kaya.
Huh? I'm just saying.
Please don't go there because you know my brand.
This is the level, and then there's their superior race or supreme race, whatever.
Okay, can we just get on? Let's talk about Donald Trump and his platform that he ran on, Make America Great Again.
When was it ever great?
Okay, no.
Can I just no? But I'm just saying that.
When we were amazing butlers.
Wait,
That's when it was great.
No.
Yes,
Here's the time. There was a time when America was great. There was a time. Okay, you guys want to know when America was great?
Please tell me. I'm gonna win.
America was great when the Native American inhabited the land.
Okay.
Okay.
America was great. America was great.
I remember that.
I will tell you why.
I
will tell you. Just listen.
Okay.
So America was great when this land belonged to the Native Americans. They took care of this land. Yes. They cultivated this land. They lived here. They didn't suffer from diseases. Their body was acclimated to the weather here. Mm-hmm. This was their land. When those people got on those ships seeking religious freedom, they needed to find a new land that they can practice their religious freedoms. They were on ships. And let's talk about those ships that they were on, that they chose to be on.
Don't get my pressure up. Wait, I just asked that.
And because there's a difference, and people really need to understand. And when I hear people speak, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, you read this in the book because I learned this in school. Mm-hmm. How did you not understand or comprehend what it is you were taught and what you read? Because we learned that the Indians were here. And these people came on ship in search of freedom, mm-hmm. Correct? I'm not even talking about Columbus, because we know Amerigo Vespucci was here before Columbus. That's why America is named America after Amerigo Vespucci, but that's a whole nother story. So that's not even
history.
That's not.
Somebody must got an A in
the Queen.
Somebody got an A in history.
I tell y'all all the time, I read. I am nobody's dummy. So we're not even going to talk about the Queen sending Columbus in search.
Yes.
We're talking about those people that left England on a ship.
Yes.
Okay? They willingly got on a ship. They were not shackled on that ship. They willingly went on that ship. They were on those ships for months. Mm-hmm. Now let's just think about you being on this ship for months, because we know what happened to the slaves as well.
Yes.
It wasn't no cruise.
Where are you urinating? The cruise that wasn't a cruise. Where were they urinating and defecating?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're constantly inhaling your waste, they started to become ill. So they were they had malaria and all other types of diseases.
Right.
They had the same blankets that they were covering themselves up, because remember now, they're traveling by boat from England. Mm-hmm. So now they're going through all the different elements and all of the different temperatures. They willingly got on this ship. So now they come here and these people welcome them.
You see what happens when you welcome people?
To their great land. They brought their diseases,
yes,
to the land that was pure. Mm-hmm. These people lived off the land. They farmed. This is what they did. They used animal skins to cover their bodies. They were hunters. They were not taught anything from these people that came here on that ship. They had already mastered the art of surviving here. Those people had to learn how to survive, and they came here with their diseases and their germs and infested the land. Not only did they do that, they stole.
Yes.
So they stole from the Native American. They took the Native Americans' kindness and used it against them.
They did
This
the
is
same
the
thing in
history.
Africa.
This is the history of the savagery of the white man. They came to a land that was great. And for Donald Trump to say, make America great again, that means he's giving it back to the Native American. And he's taking them off of the reservations that they placed them on and have them in all these different areas now that they still live kind of poor. You know, we have people who want to claim, you know, lineage to tribes. And I don't want to do it to her, but Elizabeth Warren,
Doors roll, $5 Indians. Okay.
She was one of those who took advantage of it, where you're taking away something that actually belongs to someone else.
Yes.
So it's the same continuing cycle of you stealing something that doesn't belong to you. You coming and taking away from someone that was already here.
Yeah.
So when Donald Trump talks about make America great again, is he referring to the people that were bought on ships in shackles, who didn't come here willingly to now do the work for the people who did not want to do the work?
To build the house that he's living in that he says was a dump.
Because remember,
White House
they had the Native Americans who were already cultivating the land, so they needed another set of people to cultivate the land for them.
The amount of Native Americans that they killed off is insane. That's number one.
Exactly.
Because they're savages.
When I speak about the Doors Roll, if you don't know what the Doors Roll is, the Doors Roll was an act that was enacted by the government, the U.S. government in the 1800s, to basically have a count of the specific tribes of Native American, indigenous people. And back then, I don't think it was remorse, more so you got to basically give up something to get something. The Doors Roll was enacted, and that was basically like a ledger of who and what tribe you were from. And that's when a lot of white men paid $5 to get on that roll so that they can have the same benefits as the indigenous people up until this day. So I don't know if Elizabeth is part of that $5 that everybody else was paying, but because I'm sure they didn't take her blood, or they didn't take the people's blood back then to find out if you're indigenous. Okay.
You know, and even in speaking of that, Kai, it goes back to generational wealth. And with that, let's talk about the Homestead Act. Let's talk about the Homestead Act, and you know, when they tried to put it out there for free men to be able to take advantage of the Homestead Act, the president at that time was Buchanan, and Buchanan vetoed that bill also. It wasn't until Abraham Lincoln got in, and then it reversed it, and Freeman was actually able to take advantage of the Homestead Act. But the Homestead Act was actually put in place to help white men create a way to make money by farming.
Because up until
again,
then,
let's go back.
We had the knowledge of sharecropping, because that was what we was doing. All they was doing is with the whip.
But now they want to take advantage,
yes,
of something, and we were denied. And again, when people want to talk and disparage Black people and say all of the derogatory things that they have to say about us, let's go back to history. People, educate yourself. White people who refuse to educate yourself, because I'm not saying that all white people don't know it, and they do. They know it. There were things that were put in place for you that we
were
could
not
take
put in place.
advantage of. They were
Yeah.
not put in place for us. We've always had
Exactly.
to fight. We had to fight to get our freedom. We had to fight to give ourselves our own last name.
You had
Like,
to
I
fight to
don't
vote.
think
You had to, it's like a
But because
conflict.
they do talk about affirmative action, but affirmative action and equal rights and civil rights actually benefited white women more than it benefited any
Yeah.
group of people, because white women were considered a minority. Ain't
Right.
that something? The white man was so puffed up.
White women were
White
considered a
women.
minority. And let's think of the white women that no longer wanted to be the June Cleavers of the world. They wanted to go out and earn.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because they wanted to earn, they had to find a way to fit them in. We have to make room for them. And there were some who were against it, but there were some who this is what they wanted. And you know, again, a white woman is considered a minority,
Which is crazy to me.
so when I hear again, oh,
That's not crazy to y'all.
action,
Crazy.
they benefited, oh, they got hired over affirmative action, and I'm like,
No, where was white women?
no. Go back to your history book, because it is written. The information is out there. Stop pretending. Stop with the fallacy that these things don't exist. Stop with the, this black rage and all of these things that you want to say.
The glass ceiling
take our
over
rights away.
high. We can't go but so high. Even when Obama was in office as president, he really wasn't the president, because the amount of things that, I mean, of course, on paper he was a president. Let me rewind that. But the things that Trump is allowed to get away with.
Oh, boy, he would have never been away. He would have never been allowed.
Well, we won't even. But not even Trump. Let's.
Oh, well, any of them.
Let's talk
Except Obama.
All right, I'm gonna read y'all something. I want y'all to respond one after the other. Section 1. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of the citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection under the laws. Now that is the 13th and 14th
Amendment. Yes.
So who want to go first? Who want to go first?
That don't sound like that's for black people.
and this is now segueing into our reality.
Just like now.
Who's that for? They ain't
But this was made, the 13th and 14th Amendment was made, that 13th Amendment was made as a, you're free, not really. That's like, but that 14th Amendment was supposed to be enforced.
Was supposed to be enforced.
You guys got to keep in mind, when these documents were written, there was no psychics in the room. So there's no psychics in the room to tell them that one day Jay-Z and Beyonce will exist and exist. So they didn't have a clue that we would be on the level that we're at right now.
That you would have black billionaires under the age of 50.
50, right.
They didn't have a clue. Like those laws was written as if we were still going to be house, the help.
Yeah.
So, and at the end of the day, now that we're at the level that we're at, this still don't apply to us, because like I told you, you could have all the money in the world. There's neighborhoods in this state that I live in that you will never be able to put your foot in. They'll let you look at the house, but won't let you get the house. One time, this lady was telling me a story about how there was this black couple. The husband was very, very fair. He had wavy hair, and him and his dark-skinned wife and they both were wealthy. Him and his dark-skinned wife were going to look at homes in these wealthy neighborhoods, and they were having a hard time getting they'll put a bid in, but always lose the bid. So finally, the white realtor, a light bulb hit her in her head. She says, "Don't get offended." She said to the husband and wife, she said, "But you got to leave your wife home." Left the wife home, found a house. So I said it to say, those third amendments you talking about ain't for us.
Well,
there's a neighborhood that I was in, and it was an okay neighborhood. It was not like, oh, fabulous, where it was millionaires. No, it was a regular middle class, lower and mid, not even upper, but middle and lower middle class neighborhood. No blacks on the block, and myself and other people were coming to the house. So he was the sweetie pie. He loved everybody. You know, I love other cultures when they make it a point to let you know that they love your culture. You know what I mean?
But not when they say the blacks.
But
Like, I love the blacks.
Stories that you got to sit there and smile like, that's an effed up story. It was like, yeah, the neighbor came over one day and was like, "Are you selling your house?" He was like, "No." He's like, "Oh, thank God, because I saw a whole bunch of niggas coming in and out that house, and I thought you was about to sell your house to a nigga." Thank God.
see, and that's another issue that becomes such a bigger issue, because a lot of us, and Shauna, we spoke about this yesterday with regards to jury duty.
Yes.
And jury duty and voting. A lot of
Everyone
us
everyone should go to jury duty when the called.
A lot of us don't take the time out to put our elected officials to work.
Yes.
We
Don't
do
hold their
not
feet to
have
the
them.
fire.
We do not have them work for us.
Mhm.
Some of us don't even take the time out to read up and follow our elected officials to know what they're supposed to do.
But see, I don't think we understand, even with the police officers and the whole protect and serve, they work for you.
For us.
Your tax
dollars
dollars pay Mitch McConnell, the president, if he takes his salary or not. I don't care. My tax dollars afford you the right to go to Mar-a-Lago every weekend, and golf, and have your Secret Service detail be over $1 million for 3 trips that you make, because you want to go to your own. So we're paying tax dollars for you to go to your own resort, to put money back into your resort, which is illegal, but yet he's getting away with that too. But back to the 13th and 14th Amendment.
But just to go back to what, so we don't go off topic like we continuously do.
No, that's you.
Because I think of all of these things, and these are the things that I'm constantly thinking about. And when one thing comes up, it's like, oh, but wait, this also goes with that. We don't allow people to work and do the job. And
I think now people are getting more
aware
because they see, and social media is a gift and a curse, because it makes you aware of what's going on, but then you have all of the other stuff that comes along with it. But now you can say, okay, somebody, your councilman or whomever, call up their office.
Everybody
call up the office and say so and so. You know what I'm saying?
Right, because we can send a message now. We can
exactly. So now we have direct access
and tell you what to do.
Or at them, on Twitter or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So
but we have to make people work for us. We have to make these people work for us. We have to understand that when someone is running, we vote for our DAs.
That's what I was getting to. That's what I was getting to.
Judges.
I was getting to the DAs and the judges. And
we vote for the same people that put us in jail.
So this is the thing, ladies. So listen, because I know, Kaya, you're talking about the 13th and
14th Amendment.
when it comes down to the Black community and the level that we've gotten to thus far, a lot of it has happened to us because we were sleeping, or we chose to sleep. And I know where you're going at with it, Keish, with we have to make our representatives work for us. But I think we chose to sleep because, let me tell you a real quick story. I remember my mom was a single parent, and my mom was a tourist. And anytime like she would get on me about something, I try to chime in on why I did what I did, or give her, have a rebuttal. And it was, well, her strong self was like, you always making excuses. You always making excuses. Mm-hmm. Heard that for a very long time. So what I did was I shut the fuck. I just shut up. Mm-hmm. Like she started talking. I got quiet. So that was going on for like maybe 2-3 years. And finally she said something to me. She's like, I don't like the fact that you're just quiet. You don't say anything. Mm-hmm. And I stood up on my platform and said, because you don't let me say anything. You give me the spotlight, and when you give me the spotlight, you take it from me right away. Mm-hmm. And I went in that direction in layman's terms to say that's been us for years as Black people. They make you believe that you have all this when you really don't. I said to Troy a couple of days ago, only thing they look at us for is that one vote in November, every 4 years, and for us to put money into the economy. They don't see nothing else that any worth that Black people have. That's it, the vote and our money. And the problem is, up until this point, they have a system that's not for us. And it's been like that for years. So now you got these young folks out there that don't have a clue of most of the stuff that's been going on. But when you tell a kid that has a 72-inch flat screen TV in their basement that they can't do something, and they see somebody's knee and somebody's neck, that's why they out there right now. We're part of a system that is not for us. It never was for us. It might have been for us in certain areas like New York, where there's a lot of minorities. But if you go to them rural areas when there might be 5 Black people in the community, the system is not for them.
Yeah.
So
there's a big difference mentally from people that live in the inner cities and people that live in rural areas. The mindset is totally different. And I don't know
if that's true, because Amy Cooper, that was New York. I'm just saying, it's not that.
I'm talking about Black people.
Oh, okay. No, I'm just, okay.
We're in a system where our skin is our sin. We're in a system where our skin is our sin. At the very end of the day, not to sound harsh, but they don't like us. And Black people think about it, we are a strong group of people where we've been surviving in a country that don't like us. They allow us to shuck and jive and entertain them, and we have our Beyoncés and our Rihannas, but they don't want us part of their family.
Like our culture.
They love our culture.
They love
our culture.
Why do you think they don't like us?
Oh, it's been embedded since we were on the boats.
But why?
They know our power.
But why is it they don't like us? What's the real reason they
know our power?
It's an inferiority complex. Whenever you have to make your light shine brighter than somebody else's.
They don't like us because they know that they are inferior.
Yeah, it's obvious.
Kenya Barris said it the best.
And I go back to saying it. Don't lose Kenya. What did we master? We mastered mathematics,
architecture.
We've done it all.
Dynasties.
We've done it all. What is their claim to anything?
We taught them civilization. They were still living outside with their animals.
So let's go back to it again. What is their claim? What have they created? What have they created?
They created the art of conquer. The art of conquer.
Stealing,
looting,
thuggery, because they're the real thugs.
They're the biggest thugs.
They're the real thugs who start the looting that when the shooting starts, they're the ones who need to be catching on bullets. Let's be honest, because the majority of the crimes that has been committed in America has been committed by white people, white men at that. And let's talk about the most heinous of crimes. But let's talk about
Black Wall Street.
Let's talk about well, come on. We know why that happened. That happened because you had a community that flourished.
Yep.
This is why I sometimes say that we did better before integration.
It's so funny because when you think of Mr. Altright and his diversity may not have been a good thing for us. No. Because we did very well, and we can fare very well. A land with just us will thrive.
I forgot what documentary I saw it on when the guy was just like Rosa Parks with the bus boycott. Like, why do we need to sit on the front of their bus? We can just have our own bus companies. You know what I'm saying? So why do we need to have, their schools, go to their schools?
But you know what?
It's because of the fact that we didn't have it. We want what we didn't have.
Power, and a lot of times we didn't have the money to do any of that stuff.
Kaya, you were going to quote Kenya Barris.
Okay, Kenya Barris and Black AF. I don't know if anybody saw the Netflix series with Kenya Barris, but it's hilarious. It's a comedy that's loosely based on his life with his wife and kids. And he was just like, the sun, he was like, a group of people that the sun hates you. he said the sun hates you. The very thing that gives Earth its source of power hates you, but you're still on top. He was like, I don't get it.
I don't get it.
Like, I don't get it.
I don't get it. Oh my God. And it's so funny because that's why they have tanning salons.
Oh,
and that's why they love
go
to
outside every chance
it's so confusing to me because you want to tan because you need to be a few hues darker than what you are.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know why they tan.
The other day it was on the news where a tanning salon on Staten Island planned to reopen. And I mean,
so let me ask y'all a question, and I don't know if you were gonna touch on this, Kaya. And if you are gonna touch it, then I'll wait till the topic comes up. How do you guys feel about a majority of people that's out there looting is not really us?
No. But
they've
proven it. Like they've shown it. They've shown it. They have
that everybody knows. The Minnesota governor actually got on national TV today, and other leaders and politicians that said that there is a white supremacist group that comes from out of town to burn down the Black neighborhoods. And they stand behind the actual protesters, and they're the ones that are like destroying stuff.
Well, one thing, not to take it in a different direction, but so I didn't know that up until you told me that, and I missed that part. And I'm pretty sure he's correct about that, so I'm not going against that idea. But I do see a lot of other cultures out there. They made their signs. They have shirts that say Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
You know, and
bravo to them.
It really touched my heart. And tears came in my eyes.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I said, wait a minute, to myself, I was like,
we need them. So when I brought up the 13th and 14th Amendment, simply because of the fact that since we have a president in office that seems to be doing what he wants anyway.
He knows nothing about the 4th, the 3rd.
I feel that the Constitution should be rewritten.
The Constitution has to be rewritten.
It has to be time to change.
Because everybody's talking about, with Biden, the Black agenda. The Black agenda needs to be, let's rewrite history and put us
Let's
on,
include
put us in that
Black people
yes.
when we write the Constitution.
Yes. So that's where I'm at with the Black agenda. You know, Joe Biden, in my opinion, the last thing America needs is another old white man in office.
Yeah.
But you know,
Yeah, that's our choice.
That's what
it's either one now.
we have. That's what we have. And
Yeah, that's what we got.
It's a shame that the most qualified person to ever run for president lost to a buffoon. Because think about it. Hillary was the most, even though people didn't like her.
Yeah, and her gender,
Had
but
the most qualifications
yeah,
to be president.
as far as her
Check my resume. You know
her
what I'm saying?
resume, yes.
Even though people didn't like her.
You know, it's unfortunate that you don't need to have a certain background to run for president. I personally think that a person who runs for president should have a legal background.
I do too.
And the reason
I
why
agree.
I say that,
And not have several lawsuits that have been brought up against you.
Yeah.
well, I mean, because and that's why I'm saying that, because the fact that anyone can run for president is why we have a person who sits in the office right now who knows nothing.
Ill-equipped. Who is ill.
He actually believes that if he says something that that's how it works. He doesn't even understand how Congress works.
But yet we have, and this is also why I say this, because the Republican Party, you know, obviously y'all know we grew up in church, and most church people have the Republican values, right?
The alleged Republican
Alleged.
Because if we go into the history of the parties, it's so
It was reversed.
because because Buchanan was a Democrat who vetoed the homestead for Black people, and the Republicans is who was pushing it.
Right.
Come on, historian. Come on, historian. Get your history together.
Let me explain to y'all why I graduated with honors. Oh,
Come on now. Come on. Come on. You looking at 4 educated sisters here. The Republican Party has always been known as the moral majority in current times.
correct.
You know, the Mormons, the Christians, the faith-based, but yet they are willing to overlook every demonic, sinful flaw that this man has in order to push an agenda. So then that shows you that you're really not for the moral majority. You're for what you can gain from.
You have a man in office that has no morals.
Yes.
At all.
At all.
Yep.
At all. His wife don't like him. Like, you know that the man is not, I mean, and I'm not a Melania fan. Just because of the fact that she was talking about Barry. You know, and she was stealing from Michelle. How you gonna steal the first lady's speeches?
Yeah.
I mean, like line word for word.
Well,
But you know, whoever wrote that speech for her hated her gut.
You know, she was just like, it had to be a former Obama staffer. He was like,
it goes back to the fact that you have an administration that didn't hire qualified people for their jobs, because
his son-in-law.
she didn't have a qualified speechwriter.
Obviously not.
No, not if
You
you
plagiarize.
not if you stealing from your predecessor.
You plagiarize.
A word for word.
Plagiarism is a crime.
But you know what it was? She didn't even know. She didn't know.
No.
She didn't know. So the person that did it to that was a setup, and that was a good setup. Like whoever did that to her,
And they did it to her more than once.
wait. Whoever did it to her must have had a second job on the side that knew that one day they were gonna get fired. That's some like shit.
Half of his cabinet is vacant.
Now,
The amount of people that he has fired, or that has left since he has been in office.
Because you know what, the thing about working with Trump, you can't have a conscience. You can't even want to go to heaven to work on
No.
You just got like, I'm going to hell after I die.
We don't want to compare administrations you know, because people are saying, oh, they only like Obama because he's black. But
No.
let's just talk about what the Obama administration looked like. Number one, it was top heavy with regards to females.
Yes, it was so diverse.
But not only that, they were smart.
Yeah. Even W, he had smart people around him.
But the thing is, even with Bushes and all of those before, you may not agree, but it didn't feel like Trump.
Yeah,
like it was just like
I
no one respects
each president. I didn't agree with all their politics.
Yeah, but
I don't feel that
type of
Clinton should have gotten impeached because he lied about Monica. He lied about an affair.
Was it Chris Rock that made the joke about?
Yes. You deserved. You got the most respectful job in America.
And, you know, and I hate to take it to comedy. But
you have to keep
the fact that he was impeached for lying about this woman performing fellatio,
and this president lies on such a level.
And and it's so crazy because when coronavirus the numbers started to show up here, there were outlets that were saying, along with the president, that it's a hoax. And it's something that the Democrats have come up with because they're mad about how the impeachment went.
Yes. Meanwhile, we're at over 100,000 dead.
We claimed the virus was a hoax because the Democrats were upset that he was impeached and not removed from office. No, it was something like you said. We have over 100,000 deaths.
Yes.
But that's the length that they go to support this man with no morals.
Mm-hmm. So that's why I feel that after this, there is no bar set, because you guys have lowered it so, like, that bar ain't even, you can't even limbo underneath that joint. You can't even limbo underneath that bar. That bar is gone.
There's no bar.
There's no bar set. So that being said, I feel that the justice system, the Constitution, and all that good stuff needs to be rewritten. If there's no rules, if Trump has proven that there are no rules in this White House, so then we can make up our own rules as we go along.
And the first thing they needed to change is the laws about the electoral votes. There's no reason why.
Electoral college.
Well, we just need to get rid of the electoral college. The electoral college just needs to be done with.
And they will never do it. They'll never do it because it benefits them, not us.
A lot of people don't know that was instituted because of slavery.
Yeah.
But we can get into that during another conversation.
But we know, as again with progression, things went into another direction.
But things still stay the same. So as we come to a close, I just really want to talk on Central Park Karen and what she did. And this goes back to my little soliloquy at the beginning about the white fragility, the snowflake of the white woman, and how she's so vulnerable and
she's as pure and gentle as the driven snow.
You know, I can't even say it without laughing, but it's sad because they see us. Everybody, one thing about all of us, I think that we know, even though they may not say it out loud, every nationality and race on the earth wants a black man.
Woman.
No, black man.
Oh, okay.
Everybody want to know about that black man, you know, the stereotype. They want to know if it's true. Everybody. I don't care if you say it out loud or not, but nobody wants a black woman.
They don't.
Because they think that we're too opinionated.
We're always angry.
We're always angry.
Always angry.
Sassy, neck popping, and all of that stuff.
That goes back to slavery.
Stereotype.
And disbanding our families, because we were forced to take on and assume certain roles.
Yeah.
We had to learn to be assertive. We were angry because we watched our men get belittled in front of us.
And when she says belittled, if there were men that were slaves that showed aggression or were trying to protect their families, they had this thing called buck breaking. And this ritual would include the man, and if he had a wife, the wife, and if he had kids, his kids. And what they would do is they would rape the man in front of his wife and children in order to break him.
Yeah, with their own penises.
With their own penises.
Savage.
Buck breaking.
You think the murder on the camera is?
What did he say?
You gotta edit that.
I didn't hear what he said. I didn't hear what he said.
What do you think the murder on the camera was? Modern day buck breaking.
Oh. Yes. Okay. Okay.
It was just funny because it just came out of
nowhere. I was like,
deep voice came out of
right,
nowhere.
that deep voice, it was like, that's a black man. That's a black man in the back. Back to Central Park Karen and her strangled poor little dog, and her little dog Toto, who decided that she was going to call the cops because a black man who, I don't even care where he graduated from.
Right.
That, like, just to say that, you know, oh, he's a Ivy League graduate and he's this, I don't care about that stuff.
Well, they have to do that because, you know, there's a difference. You have your difference in black.
And that's why I don't like when they do that.
Right, but
you know, there's the hood dude, and then there's the Ivy League dude.
It goes with their narrative.
Right.
So that's why it's done. He's a Harvard educated black man, and he's this, and he's not your typical
He's not
nigger.
Yes, exactly. And that's why I don't like
nigger
when they do that.
Is what they're saying.
Is what they're saying.
Yeah.
But it's their language.
Yes. So she was walking in Central Park with her dog, and there are signs.
You have to be specific because she was in the ramble with the dog.
Right. And that is where bird watchers.
The dogs are not allowed there, especially dogs are not allowed in that section of the park.
Tell me something I didn't know. She was in the ramble. Okay.
Unleashed. So
tell it.
The problem was with Christian Cooper. He let her know that her dog needs to be on the leash. Her issue with him was, how dare you tell me what I should do?
You little black man.
He told her what she should do. And, you know, she said, well, her dog needs to run around. And he told her what section of the park she needs to go to so that her dog can do that. And her response is, it's too crowded there.
Oh, yeah, it was too crowded.
It was too crowded. So you take your dog into an area where dogs are not allowed to run free. And a black man told you that your dog should not be in that area. And he had his doggy treats that he always has. And he was offering the dog a doggy treat because he needs to show this woman what she needs to do. Keeps doggy treats with him when he goes into the park to watch the birds.
Right.
So he explained to her what needs to be done, and it's a classic case of, how dare you tell me, white person, what to do? She then went into telling him that she was going to call the police.
That's when he started recording.
And he was very calm.
Right.
He was calm because he knew that he was in the right. No matter what. So even if the cops did come and approach him on video, he had his proof. And here goes the story. She tells him that she's going to tell them that an African American man is threatening her and her dog.
And her dog, yes.
She was approaching him.
Too.
She's walking up to him and he's telling her, please back up, please back up. So the aggressor in this situation
Was her.
was her.
Was
She was
clearly her.
he was recording her. She calls. There's an African American man I'm in Central Park Ramble. There's an African American man threatening me and my dog.
So, and then I think it was
the question came again because
the response was
so wait, here
most
we go.
likely what
There's an African American man threatening me and my dog. I'm in Central Park Ramble, and there's an African American man threatening me and my dog. And it must have came. The question must have been asked one more time because then she went. There's an African American man in the Ramble in Central Park. He's threatening me and my dog. She graduated into her.
Escalate, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
She
Graduated
knew.
into
And
her.
the
hysterics.
Oscar award goes to.
So when he told her that to call the police, he was recording her. When she graduated into her hysterics, he was still recording her. But in all of this, as she's going back and forth, being the aggressor, she was actually pulling and tugging on the dog because she never put the leash on the dog.
Right.
But she was pulling the collar of the dog.
Right.
The downside is
the dog was scrambling and doing all of this trying to get free.
When the video went out, there was more concern for the dog
than the black man.
And the black man. And the black
abuse.
That.
The abuse on the dog, than the fact that this woman just called 911 and she used all the key words.
Right.
Yes.
African American man.
For people to understand the history and know New York City, and
Central Park.
Thanks to Ava DuVernay for making this movie.
Bravo,
because
Ava.
for us here home, we lived it. We knew it. We understood the stories. Many of us cried when these boys went to jail because we knew something wasn't right. To understand the history of being a white woman in Central Park, American man,
key words.
She used all of the key words. Her apology is a bullshit apology. She never meant harm to the man. You did.
Oh, now
you said
African American.
And
to NYPD.
You in Central Park. What I think, because there's several things that angered me in this issue, but one of the first things that angered me was the empathy for the dog. And it pissed me off because
I joked around and I said that the reason why she got fired from her job was not because of what she did to the black man, it's what she was doing to
what she did to the dog.
Dogs and animals get more empathy.
It was the empathy for the dog. And the empathy for the dog, because we know that a dog's life has more value than the life of a black man. Nobody was more, people weren't as concerned for the fact that had the cops come, and if this was 20 years ago with a cell phone,
before cell phone,
that you could not record that incident, he could have been murdered.
Yes.
And for her to say that she meant him no harm, you're lying.
As soon as you picked up,
you meant him harm because you stated to Chris Cooper,
I'm going to call the police.
Call the cops and tell them that an African American man threatened me. She did not say I was going to call the police and say a man is in Central Park threatening me.
Right. She said an African American.
She gave a full description of an African American man.
And by her saying that, she knew that he knew what the next step was.
Yes.
That the cops are gonna come get you. They're gonna beat your ass because you're a black man fucking with a white woman.
Right.
So she knew what she was doing.
She asserted her privilege.
Yeah.
The fact that they want to tell us that she's an Obama supporter means nothing to me. And I'm going to tell you why. There's a lot of white people that don't believe that they're racist. There are a lot
of time to be racist.
I'm going to repeat it again. There are a lot of white people that don't believe they are racist.
until it's time to be racist. Like everybody wants to be black until it's time to be
Y'all remember that movie Rosewood?
Nigga in the words of Paul Mooney.
That remind me a little bit of the movie Rosewood, where she came out.
I remember it.
She said, "A nigga did it. A nigga did it."
Yeah,
but not only
she knew what she was doing.
But not only that, it goes back into the history of white women and, you know, that have cried and had black men murdered. Not only did they have black men murdered, they had a black child murdered. A black child.
She just came forward. And when she says a child, she's talking about Emmett Till.
Emmett Till was murdered behind the
lie. The accuser.
Behind the lie of
of a white
They murdered a child, was murdered behind
he wasn't murdered. He was tortured.
He was tortured. A child.
And the accuser, who's now up in age, I think she just passed away.
She finally admitted
on her deathbed, right?
Yeah, she admitted it on her deathbed. But she should have been arrested.
Yeah.
There is no statute of limitations on murder. And she was an accessory to his murder by her lie. There is no statute of limitations.
Now, had you been a different culture that was beat up, that was tortured like that because of a black woman,
there's a long history in America with white women accusing black men or black children of crimes that they did not commit. A lot of them went to the death chamber because of it. Some are still locked up because of it. If it had not been for like the Innocence Project and other organizations like that, they would still be locked up.
And Pt.Ii and, you know, yeah.
Ending it out with Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and George Floyd.
Can we speak about Ahmaud first? And that whole picture, that video and that scene of Ahmaud.
I wouldn't watch it. I cannot. I just cannot take it anymore. I cannot watch it.
Death. And see, this is what happens. This is what has happened since slavery. When they do something to us, they do it so that the world can see it. So, and they put it on display so that if anybody else thinks about getting out of line, you see what
this is what's going to happen.
And that's why I wanted to speak about Ahmaud Arbery first. Watching the scene of Ahmaud Arbery's murder made me reflect on the stories that we've read or the movies that we've seen based on slavery. And the only difference was the vehicle. Instead of it being a horse and carriage, it was a car. Mm-hmm. Because we know that they would run you down in a horse and carriage. Mm-hmm. And if you try to fight back, they did what they did to him. That was a scene out of something that has happened over 400 years ago, happening in 2020, in the state of Georgia.
In the state of Georgia.
Which we know in the state of Georgia today, we still have the Confederate flag hanging around.
Mm-hmm. Same state that stole the election from Stacey Abrams.
Well, Kemp, you know, the one who sent everybody to work because, you know, we need the money. The thief, again, another thief. Like you said, who stole that election from Stacey Abrams. But we would like to think that because we live in the metropolis that we live in, that we don't have these experiences today. And even here for us, we know that those experiences do exist right here in New York City. Mm-hmm. For me, seeing that happening in Georgia, it was like, I expect that. I don't expect anything to really change in the South.
I agree.
And that could be very ignorant of me.
Because there was a time when I wanted to move to Atlanta, but then I'm just like, this is a setup. All of us moving down south, and we was trying to get up north. You know, I was like, maybe this is not a good idea.
And that's the funny thing. Black boy. We worked so hard to leave the South to come to the North, for us to say it's cheaper to live in the South. Let's go back to the South.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was just my thing. And I hated after the fact that I did watch that video because it was so heartbreaking to see that in 2020.
And it happened in February, mind you.
It happened in February, and you know, you have the DAs that want to take care and cover their people for a crime, for a murder. They committed a murder. They committed a murder. They were not even protecting their property. So even their story with he
The
looked
citizen's
like
arrest.
a robber in the they were not even, it wasn't even their property that he walked in and looked around. It wasn't their property. So again, it goes back to Zimmerman killing Trayvon. So everybody wants to be neighborhood top flight security. You know, everybody needs to be the neighborhood security. And we just gonna go around because if I see a nigga in the neighborhood, that nigga don't belong here, I'ma kill him. And we saw no justice come from George Zimmerman murdering Trayvon Martin.
He's still.
It's between people who want to police the community and the police. We're fearful of them. They want to claim that they're in fear for their lives. No. We're in fear for our lives because we know you don't care if it's a female or a male. If you feel that we're in your space and we don't belong in your space, that gives you carte blanche, and you have a president that promotes and back you on it, you can murder me.
Yeah.
I become another hashtag.
That's like I said, with me going to patients' neighborhoods.
I didn't know that was happening to you.
Yeah. It's common now. Very common. Very common. I used to be like upset about it. I'm still upset about it, but I'm more amazed or surprised if they don't do it versus them doing it. They just, you know, or like I love when I come out my car and somebody could be outside and they would stand there and stare at me to see what house I'm going into.
Breonna Taylor. We have another case of the police going into someone's house and murdering.
No, I was saying that she was sleeping.
They
Like
were
in the bed.
sleeping.
Oh yeah, she was sleeping in her bed, right?
She was asleep.
Her
They came in
boyfriend.
the wrong house.
Her boyfriend is a licensed gun
owner.
Thank God.
If you come into my property, I have the right to shoot you. The police already had in custody a suspect.
The person who they were looking for. Oh my God. Kentucky.
Mitch McConnell.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you know the man that takes out billions of dollars to bail out his. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to say his name.
That's another
That's another story for another day.
Another session.
So Brianna was asleep.
We
have not heard about
what's supposed to be her safe space.
Yes, in her domicile. That's supposed to. If you're not safe anyplace else, you're supposed to be safe in your home. And that's not the case for her. And part of me is glad that she wasn't awake to be traumatized. You know what I'm saying?
We just saw another case where a police went into someone's dwelling and murdered them.
Yes. And in that case, the judge, you know, and she was a cop. The judge
gave her a hug.
Gave her a hug and a Bible. You see how forgiving?
But that's our problem. We're too forgiving. We're too forgiving. And when we protest, you have people calling us, you have the president calling us a thug. We're not thugs. We just know what happens when this happens.
And he's the biggest one.
He's
the biggest thug.
George Floyd.
I can't watch the whole thing. I still have not watched.
I watched the video.
I can't.
I watched the video. I watched the video.
Watch.
I watched the
face.
I watched the surveillance
face.
But I also watched the surveillance camera video.
When they are
arrested.
And people need to understand why what was more so the push in people going out for protests, because you had the district attorney say that they need more evidence.
What kind of evidence you need?
And this is why the district
story-
attorney and the police should not be on the same side.
And the story was
It has
put
to
out
be, it
that
needs to be independent.
he resisted arrest.
But they showed that he didn't.
He never resisted arrest.
He didn't.
They tell you to comply.
The
He
FBI confiscated every store's surveillance cameras except for one, who a black man, and he saved it because the former owner of that store was just like, if you haven't given your footage yet, let me help you, and then we can give it to the news outlets. And that's the only reason we got that second footage.
We got to see that he complied. He complied. He complied.
He looked
This
like he
man-
was almost in a daze. Like, what? Like,
All
of this for a fake $20 bill, or
And
bill?
We watched that thug place his knee on that man's neck.
for 8
We
minutes.
was
that thug. We watched that thug look into the cameras of all of the eyewitnesses to that murder.
Like what?
And we watched that thug like this into
But it's
the
hands in
camera.
his pocket.
And
But remember, it was two more because they were on his back.
well,
Yeah.
and again, this is my thing. How can I resist when
I'm
you're
on my
neck,
stomach in
other
handcuffs.
two are on top of me, and the other one is standing on looking as this is all happening.
And audio came out and said, one of the cops said, okay, maybe we should turn him on his side after he went limp. And the one that got arrested was just like, no.
Here's the thing. On the police cars, it says to protect and to serve. There was no protection and there was no serving.
I'm going
Let me
to
ask
put, I'm
y'all a
going to put a
question.
picture right here that shows you the shield of a slave catcher and the shield of a police officer.
Well, you know what, in the words of KRS-One, overseer, officer, overseer, officer, officer, overseer. Officer's a overseer. He's our modern day overseer.
That gets paid by
us to keep us in line.
Ain't that something?
It's sad when
and please don't get me wrong, because my family are police officers and my friends are police officers.
We all do. We all have.
We all do.
Friends.
And we've seen cops in New York City shoot other cops.
The cops, yeah.
We've seen cops
Yeah.
in New York City murder other cops that didn't look like them.
Yes.
Did y'all see that video?
But see, everybody doesn't have a walk away experience. So as soon as we get pulled over, as soon as something happens, or as soon as we have an interaction with law enforcement, we think it's going to go left. So we don't know how to respond, because of the fact that we think it's going to go left. And this is the story that we have as women, but also as wives. Because of the fact that we don't support one another until it's something like this that happens with George, with Trayvon. Trayvon, I feel, was like the resurgence of civil rights movement after what happened with him. But
well, I think
it goes
with
in and out.
Kai, I think with Trayvon, it became, oh no, not this sugar honey iced tea again, because we know we can go back to the Abner Louimas, the Eleanor Bumpers. We have so many. We Sean Bell.
Yeah.
We have so many stories, just like here in New York.
Yeah.
And that's just here.
Speaking about our local issues.
Situations, yeah.
Not even speaking about what happened in other states, but that one was like, really, like, enough is enough with this now. Y'all are putting us, y'all are backing us up against a war where it's like, no, this not gonna happen.
Let me ask you a question.
We're not gonna do this.
Let me ask y'all a question, and I believe this is God, because one thing with God is sometimes we'll pray for something for a very, very long time. And then when God does it, it's a lot better than the way we ask for it. But what do you think is so different between all the other cases and Floyd case versus Floyd case, where we have these people on TV that are, I feel like the Black people are the minority in most areas, except for like New York and Atlanta. But the rest of the areas, I feel like Black people are the minorities
in the protests.
So what do you think? I personally, I think it's part of it is being in the COVID.
I was gonna, yeah.
Because people are pent up and they have.
I was gonna say the same thing. Look, like we have it at home.
You know,
unemployed, no
I
more.
need to get out. I already got to have on a mask, so you know, I'm gonna get out there. But we have.
They really made. They got their T-shirts. They got their posters. I mean, and they finessing it. You saw when they had the park on the picnic benches as barricades.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, they finessing this.
Yeah, they were industrious. They were industrious.
Yeah, but what do you think is so different besides the COVID, or maybe it's the COVID that is causing other cultures to wake up and say, yo, this shit ain't right.
Because you can't continue to sit back and watch these atrocities on man happen. That you're complicit in the crimes if you don't stand up and say anything.
Because a lot of times when people say that, you know, Black Lives Matter, or, you know, you're anti-police. No, we're not. Obviously, we're pro-Black because we love ourselves. You know, we love ourselves first. But we're not anti-police. We're anti-corrupt police. We're not saying that all police are evil,
bad and murderous.
But I just want to say, when Frank Lucas did get arrested, he brought down more than half the force in Harlem because they was all on the payroll. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, and as Nino Brown said, there's no poppy seeds fields in Harlem. You know what I'm saying? So there is a bigger agenda, you know, when it comes to our neighborhoods and the drugs coming in.
Oh my God!
How things are.
You see what happens. You see what happens, and you just said it. The drugs being put in the communities, and when the Black Panthers was taking care of the people, that the drugs were
started WIC. By the way, that anybody that's on WIC, the Black Panther Party started that. But that's a whole nother story for another day. We could be here forever to talk about every story that has happened.
Because there's
so many different
levels.
But it all connects to the same
It's all relevant.
thing. It's all
relevant. I know that I'm definitely going to have to break this video up into part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. This is obviously a conversation that we definitely need to have again, because we didn't even talk about the effect that it has on our children, because we spoke about a lot of problems, but whatever we can do to have solutions, however we can make changes. And I always say that money, well, the Bible says money answers all things. And when you have money you can line pockets of certain people, then people will listen to you. What's the dude that looked like he took the Keebler Elves job?
Who, Ball?
Yeah, Ball.
But the fact that I knew
you knew who I was talking about. His name slipped me. His name slipped me.
Keebler Elves. The fact that I knew where she was going.
He took his
shows
job.
Your family. Just
saying. But you know, once we can get somebody that is in authority, one thing we have to do is we have to make sure that this mofo is not in office another term, because the country is already on its head, literally. If we can get past this stage to November and make sure that we all vote, because anybody that's turning 18 between now and November
can vote. You
need to register to vote. Like, it's not even a question. You need to register to vote.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question. And if you don't vote, you can't live in my house. That's what I told my son and his girlfriend.
I was really upset with Charlemagne and Charlemagne and Puffy had said something to the effect of they don't know if they're going to be voting. They're going to be wasting their vote and
holding their vote hostage.
Yeah, and I get it on there. I get it. I do get it, but This is not the time to be
They
wasting.
they should have said that.
When you had
When
100
there were
people
25 people who
Thank you. We got Satan in
Democratic
the White House right now.
You know,
don't wait till we're
And as far as their pockets are concerned, Trump actually benefits their pockets.
well,
Oh,
and
yeah,
this
of
is,
course.
and people, please don't listen to Diddy.
Yeah. Do not hold your vote.
I get we want someone to
Yes.
tell us what they're going to do.
Definitely.
You know, because a lot of people feel that people just rode the whole Joe Biden train because he was the VP to a black president.
No, he has a lot of making up to do. And you bet you by golly, as malarkey, as he says, with all the malarkey he talks about, he is going to come through.
We both agreed that Joe Biden does have a lot of corrections to make in his history.
Yes.
But again, to say that you're gonna hold your vote hostage if you don't tell us, you know, what the black agenda is.
Think about it. We got Satan in that house. So one little glitch will cause that man to stay there. So we got to have all our ducks in a row. So you can't have, Biden has a chance, but if he picks a partner that is questionable,
it's too late. Keisha, it's too late. He's already committed to having a female VP.
A female, yeah.
I know.
Now, if Klobuchar,
I don't think that's going to go over well.
Klobuchar ain't going to be a good one.
If Klobuchar was the person that they had in mind, that has now been taken off the table. Because now her history, didn't look before, has been
now
put
you're
on
going to look.
spotlight.
He better pick Warren.
Now we know that when she was in a position to correct that bad behavior that led to George Floyd's murder, she did not. And she over and over again did this.
Yep.
So she's already proven to us that you ain't for us.
No, because it's not just about getting Trump out. It's about
it's about all the
Mitch
policy.
out. It's about most of those Republicans that looked the other way when Trump has done all of the illegal stuff that he's done. So it's much more than just getting Trump out.
And it goes back again to people paying attention to, you know,
the local elections.
The local elections. The local elections is the caveat to what we go through.
Yep.
If we're not out there making sure that we put in the right people in these positions to do the work for us, then this is what we get stuck with.
Then I don't want to hear nobody complain. And I said that after Trump got in office, I was like, if you did not vote, I don't want to hear nothing you got from you.
So he's going to lash onto whatever female vice president Biden chooses to run with him. He's going to dig in their closets so freaking deep. If she made a mistake
their closets couldn't be any dirtier than his.
No, but you know how Trump is. Trump can be and telling your business at the same time. Coming up with
Tupac shooter in his closet. He got Biggie shooter. Trump got everybody up in his closet. Let me tell you something. You're not going to
hate you for this.
I'm not going to hate you though.
Trump's going to be president again.
You better not listen.
The devil is lying.
Keisha, you have 4 people in your house to make sure that doesn't happen.
Them electoral college shit is the truth. You got a small group of people that got a whole bunch of votes over their heads. Like how the hell does that happen? So
hopefully the census, people filled out the census, and now electoral college, you know, the electoral.
Let me tell you something. Your great grandchildren are gonna be talking about these electoral college votes.
Listen, I can't let you say that. Listen, we have to have a positive mind. We have to will it, like Lethal Weapon. Will it to me, Riggs. You know, we gotta will it into existence. Okay.
Girl.
So on that note, I want to thank my guest today. My sister.
We done spent 5 hours.
Listen, it's gonna be 18 parts. okay? Because of the fact that we talk so long and I'm gonna have to edit this. But I just want to thank my sisters for giving me their ear and giving you their 2 cents, because we have a lot. So I think we're gonna have to do this again when we get together,
Obviously.
and especially if listen,
It's gonna be a minute.
once COVID is over and we can get together in one place and do it.
Oh,
Oh, it's a wrap. It's
Oh,
a
yeah.
Reynolds wrap. Okay.
Reynolds wrap.
Reynolds wrap. So I want to thank my guys. Keisha, and Shauna. And I appreciate y'all for joining this conversation with me about race in
And we
America.
appreciate you for orchestrating this.
yes,
Yeah,
love
even though
you.
you don't answer your text messages,
She know how to look. She know how to show up when she
you
needs
know
to
how
show
to show up. She was like, I'm here.
She showed up. She
She
showed up 2 seconds. 2 seconds before we
I'm
press
here.
record.
Ready? But we will definitely do this again. And even though we're smiling and laughing, it's not a joking matter about what's going on in America. And I just want you all to continue to try to get together with one another so that we can form one unit, so that we can combat things together instead of separately. Okay? So until next time, thank you for watching A Maven's Tale.
I love us.
I love us. We some beautiful stuff.
Stay tuned for scenes from the next episode of A Maven's Tale,
But me and Mona
the
is
Sister
like
Friends
the
edition.
low-
Don't go there. Don't go there.
No.
Don't go there. Don't go there. Don't go there. You was doing this.
Let me go. Let me go on that plane with my passport. Your passport expired. Your passport
Yes,
expired.
it's expired. Do not go. $200.